Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Gonna be giving you my starting 11 prediction for our game against Real Sociedad in the Europa League round of 32. Like I said to you, I'm expecting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to rotate. So in goal, I'm gonna go with Dean Henderson. Dean Henderson has done well in the games he's played in this season. And I think at some point he will become our number one. He's reliable enough now to become our number one goalkeeper because he has got that experience behind him. He endured 2 successful loans with Sheffield United. Before the start of this season, Dean Henderson signed a 6-year contract with Man United, so he committed his long-term future with the club. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer recently made an admission saying that it's becoming more and more difficult to leave Dean Henderson out of the side. Do you think David De Gea needs to be dropped? Jamie Carragher's come out and told Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to drop David De Gea. Gary Neville recently come out and said that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer must deal with the goalkeeper situation. Gary Neville advised us to get a goalkeeper to replace David De Gea, and Neville's also said that David De Gea, Lindelof and Harry Maguire are not good enough to win the title. David De Gea was obviously in goal for the game against West Brom. To his credit, he did well. He made 2 very, very good saves to deny Diagne. I think he also made a save from Robert Snodgrass. David De Gea did get criticised a lot after our 3-3 draw with Everton because he made 2 mistakes in that game. Effectively, he cost us that game. But in the last couple of years now, he's made quite a few calamitous mistakes. A few years ago, David De Gea was regarded as the best goalkeeper in the world. This is his 10th season at Manchester United, so he's been a long servant. He's been with us since the Sir Alex Ferguson era. He's going to remain our number one though for at least this season. So like I say, Dean Henderson in net for this one. At right back, I'm going to go with Wan-Bissaka. I think aspects of Wan-Bissaka's game have improved. There's been some games this season where he showed good attacking intent. He's got in good positions. He's put good crosses into the box. Defensively, Wan-Bissaka has always been superb. This is his 2nd full season at Manchester United. The 2 centre-halves, I'm going to go with Eric Bailly and Harry Maguire. I want to see Eric Bailly involved in this one. Eric Bailly has recently been out with injury, but when he plays, he's very, very good. He makes good interceptions, he's very effective in the air, he shows that ability to play out from the back. My only element of concern about Bailly is just too injury prone, but I certainly prefer him to Victor Lindelof. Harry Maguire, I've got my reservations about him. I think he's endured some good games this season, but he's also endured bad games. Harry Maguire actually played quite well against West Brom recently. He had that very, very good chance at the end. It was a header, but it produced a fantastic save from Sam Johnstone. It actually went onto the post. And he got forward well from that left-hand side against West Brom. Harry Maguire said after the 1-1 draw with West Brom, he was certain that we should have had a penalty because he got brought down in the box, VAR overturned the penalty. But actually, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer disagreed with Harry Maguire because he said Harry Maguire was in an offside position. Harry Maguire certainly wasn't worth the £80 million that we got him for. He's the most expensive centre-half in the world at the moment and is the second most expensive sign at the club behind Paul Pogba. At left-back, I'm going to go with Alex Telles. I think Telles needs to be given a chance in this one. Telles has played nowhere near as much as I expected. But don't forget at one point he did have COVID. But in the games he has played in, I think Telles has done quite well. You know, he's got forward well, he's got into good positions, he's put good crosses into the box. We got Telles in a deal worth 15.4 million. But yeah, despite his arrival, Luke Shaw still remains our first choice left back. And like I've said, I think Luke Shaw is really improving. He's getting forward well, he's creating chances for his teammates. And defensively, he's been good. Luke Shaw's had a good career at Manchester United. Apart from obviously the injuries that he's had. He's been at the club now over 6 years. We got Luke Shaw for £30 million from Southampton back in 2014. But yeah, go with Telles in this one. The midfield, I'm going to go with Matic and Fred. Nemanja Matic, he obviously isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but he is still getting his opportunities. And I've always had my reservations about Matic because he's always been a slow player and he's ageing up obviously as well. But he's enjoyed some good games as a Man United player. Matic has been at the club now for nearly 4 years, is it? We got him in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2017. Was it last year? Matic signed a 3-year deal with the club. Fred, I think he's really improved. He did play against West Brom. That was his 100th appearance for the club. I don't think he was too good though in the game against West Brom. Fred's been at the club now for a few years. We got him in a deal worth £52 million from Shakhtar Donetsk. Ahead of them two, I'm going to go with Bruno Fernandez. Now, Bruno Fernandez was poor against West Brom. Apart from obviously the goal he scored. His goal was very good. It was a fantastic volley. He's enjoyed a few bad games as Bruno Fernandez, but in most of his games at Manchester United, he's been consistent. He certainly has made the difference in the team. We have overplayed him, but Fernandez said earlier on this season that he denies that he needs a rest because he obviously wants to help the club win trophies. Bruno Fernandez did say on his 12-month anniversary that he's planning on spending many years at Manchester United. He won Player of the Month for December, but he's won that now quite a few times, reflecting on his good performances. He said earlier on this season that we are 3 months into contract talks with Bruno Fernandez. Then it said contract talks had stalled. Bruno Fernandez's current contract expires with the club in 2025. There's an option to extend his contract for a further 12 months. We initially paid £47 million for him, but the overall cost is just over, £67 million with add-ons included. And he's predominantly a number 10. On the right-hand side, I'm going to go with Mason Greenwood. Mason Greenwood has done very well recently, despite scoring. I updated you on my recent video, didn't I? Mason Greenwood has signed a new 4-year contract at Manchester United. That keeps him at the club until June 2025. There's an option to extend for a further year. Greenwood's made like 82 first team appearances. He's been at the club since the age of 7. But I think it's the right decision to give him a new contract. This is his second season in our senior squad. He made his debut for the club in 2019. And at the start of this season, we give him that number 11 shirt. Earlier on this season, I didn't really have much of a perception on Mason Greenwood because he had personal issues. At one point he had injury and at one point he had illness. But yeah, Ollie's been defending him a lot this season. On the left-hand side, I'm going to go with Marcus Rashford. I think Marcus Rashford does need a rest because he has been a bit out of form recently. And I think in general he needs a rest because he's played so many games at Man United, for Man United. But I don't think we'll rest him. Marcus Rashford, we just need to keep him out wide because that's where he's more effective. He needs to stay on that left because he's much better on the left than he is on the right. But in general, he's much better out wide than he is centrally. Marcus Rashford has been part of the club for several years. And up top, I think we're going to go with Edison Cavani. Edison Cavani has made a fantastic impact since he's come in. He did play in the 1-1 draw with West Brom. I thought he was quiet in that game. You know, he lacked chances and that seldom happens when it comes to Edison Cavani. But I like the way Edison Cavani holds up the play. His movement in and out of the box is good. He creates chances and he does score good goals. I think Edison Cavani's overtaken Anthony Martial now. We got Edison Cavani on a free transfer last summer on deadline day. He signed a 1-year contract with Man United with an option of a second year. And I think we need to keep Martial out of the team because he's been out of form for the vast majority of this season. He has had chances, but he just hasn't converted them. But actually, Solskjaer backs Martial to rediscover his form. So he needs to be dropped. You know, Martial was good last season and he was good in his debut season under Louis van Gaal. He's been at the club now over 5 years. Solskjaer was the one that gave him that number 9 shirt. Martial could start this game, but I think Cavani will start. So anyway, that's how I think we could line up for the game against Real Sociedad. As you all know, it's going to be played in Turin due to travel restrictions in Spain. The Europa League is definitely a priority for Man United. It is a chance of us getting a trophy on the board. And Solskjaer knows how important it is to get his first trophy on the board as Man United manager. We haven't won a trophy since 2017. And a club of our stature need to be winning trophies. We got to the Europa League semi-finals last season. We did lose 2-1 to Sevilla. And we won the Europa League back in 2017 under the Jose Mourinho, where we did beat Ajax in the final 2-0. Real Sociedad, they're sitting, 5th in La Liga. Their current manager is Emmanuel Alguacil. Obviously, they've got Adnan Januzaj. He's a former Manchester United player. He'll be reuniting with the club on Thursday. Adnan Januzaj's come out and said that he has nothing to prove on, a reunion with Man United. They've also got David Silva of Sociedad. They brought him in last year on a 3 transfer. They've got Carlos Fernandez. They recently brought him in. I think they brought him in January. They've got Monreal. They've got Roberto Lopez. They've got Roberto Navarro. So they are a few of their players. And I think Sociedad have got some injuries. Don't forget, they did lose Willian Jose. I think we'll be the favourites to beat Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad are a pretty good team, but they're not brilliant, let's be honest. I think the last time we played them was back in the Champions League group stage back in 2013. But we have got to get back to winning ways. We have been out of form recently. We've only won 1 of our last 5 in the league. Solskjaer said after our 1-1 draw with West Brom, we are still in the title race. And he said we will not settle for second in the title race. That's just Solskjaer playing mind games. Because he made an admission after our 3-3 draw with Everton and said we shouldn't be considered as title chasers. Up until that admission, Solskjaer wasn't mentioning the title race. He was just taking one game at a time. I can assure Manchester City are going to win the league this season. They're 7 points in front of us, I think, with a game in hand. I think we'll win another title at some point. I just don't know when. We haven't won the Premier League since 2013. So we haven't won it now for like 8 years. Yeah, it's on this drink. But I've already said to, haven't I, top 4 is our aim now this season. I can almost assure we'll finish in the top 4. We are second in the Premier League. But in regards to Solskjaer, I think he must win a trophy to avoid getting sacked. This is his 3rd season at Man United and his 2nd full season. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future is in doubt because Solskjaer has admitted he's still waiting to open talks over a new contract. Now, it said the other week, we will wait until the end of the season to begin contract talks with Solskjaer. It says we could offer him a new 2-year deal on one condition, and that's if we qualify for the Champions League and we still keep pushing for the title. I think Solskjaer is into the final 18 months of his current contract. Solskjaer signed a 3-year contract back in March 2019 when we give him the job. Solskjaer's been criticised a lot as Manchester United manager. He's also been criticised recently because we are enjoying a pretty bad period at the moment. We enjoyed a bad period earlier on this season. I think we deserve credit for sticking with Solskjaer because I thought he was going to get sacked earlier on this season, especially when RB Leipzig knocked us out of the Champions League. We had a bad period at the first part of last season. We enjoyed our worst start to a Premier League season for 30 years. But I think Solskjaer's handled the pressure really, really well. And not all of the inconsistency... Sorry, you can't blame Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for the inconsistency. Get my words out then. Obviously, these certain players that have obviously got to take responsibility. That's it. I think this year's summer transfer window is very, very important for Manchester United. We need to make more signings in the summer. And I've already given you the areas where Manchester United need to strengthen up. It says we are prepared to smash our transfer record in the summer. And apparently Ed Woodward is set to hand Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a huge war chest to sign top players in all areas. It recently said we had a 5-man centre-back shortlist because I think a new centre-back is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's priority. Woodward needs to back him in the summer transfer window because Solskjaer's not been backed enough by the board so far. And Solskjaer's endured 4 transfer windows as permanent Man United manager. You know, don't get me wrong, Solskjaer has made good signings since he's come in, but he obviously hasn't got all the players that he wanted to recommend in. The board's been one of the biggest problems at the club for several years, reflecting how poor our recruitment policy's been. We've also overpaid for players, and none of the managers have been backed enough since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. But Woodward has come out quite a few times to show his support for Ole, and he did say towards the end of last year, Woodward, that he'll back Solskjaer with a long-term plan centred around summer transfer windows. During the January transfer window, we was focusing a lot more on the outgoings rather than the incomings, and to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's credit, he's got rid of a lot of the deadwood now since he got recommended in. I'm expecting more players to depart the club in the summer transfer window. On my last video, I did give you the news on Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund. According to Kicker via Sports Witness, a Jadon Sancho transfer is coming in the summer. £60 million has been quoted. So we've been handed a huge boost in our pursuit of Sancho. It recently said we believe we can get Jadon Sancho for just £50 million in the summer. But Dortmund are expecting him to leave. Dortmund face a summer of exits. It said Dortmund could sell up to 8 players to raise funds. Bild said quite a few weeks ago that Dortmund reduced their asking price to £88 million for Sancho, so they're not £20 million off. £88 million far too much for him. Dortmund wanted €120 million last summer, but we was reluctant to pay that. He was our number 1 priority target last summer. Fabrizio Romano, he's spoken a lot about the Jadon Sancho transfer saga, and so too was Bild's Christian Falk. There's a chance that we could sign Jules Koundé in the summer. I think this is stemming from Sports Witness as well. Apparently Jules Koundé is Solskjaer's top target after missing out on Upamecano, and we're willing to pay £61 million for him. Koundé has been a revelation at Sevilla. His performances this season have been very, very good. I think he's played like 70 games for Sevilla. He's got around the £70 million release clause. He's under contract with Sevilla till 2024. Sevilla paid £22 million for him from Bordeaux in the summer of 2019. The Spanish outlet, the AS, recently said that Real Madrid and Barcelona have made inquiries for Jules Koundé, but would he go well alongside Harry Maguire in our back line? As you all know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still wants Erling Haaland. Solskjaer said he's following Erling Haaland's progress, and he recently made a new transfer admission over Erling Haaland and opened up on his relationship with Erling Haaland. Solskjaer knows the player well because Solskjaer was the one that gave him his debut at just the age of 16 at Molde. Erling Haaland's father was talking about his son's transfer links to Man United earlier on this season. Back in December 2019, don't forget, Solskjaer and Woodward went up to Norway to meet up with Erling Haaland to negotiate a possible move to Man United. But since his arrival at Dortmund, he's been a revelation. Dortmund paid just £17 million for him. He's got a contract with Dortmund until 2024. And next year, he'll be available for £68 million because that's when his release clause does become active. So yes, quite a lot of players on our agenda. I think we've enjoyed some good periods under Ollie as well. And he deserves credit for that because in recent months, before this bad period, Solskjaer was making good progress. Performances were improving and we've seen certain players improve. You know, let's put into the equation, he's got us to the FA Cup quarter-final. We know it's not going to be an easy tie though against Leicester because they're a good team now. You know, he got us to the EFL Cup semi-final this season. Lost that to Man City 2-0. City are a good team though, best team in England. Solskjaer did well last season in his first full season at the club. Got us qualification for the Champions League, got us third. The second highest we've finished since Ferguson and guided us to 3 semi-finals. Went on a 19-game unbeaten run as well in all competitions last season and was 14 unbeaten in the Premier League. We've got a fantastic away record under Ollie. We haven't lost away from home in the Premier League for over a year. Solskjaer has spent over £200 million since he became Manchester United manager. He's our 4th permanent manager since the Sir Alex Ferguson era. We've sacked 3 managers since Ferguson. That was Moyes, sacked him after 10 months. Sacked Louis van Gaal after 2 years despite him winning the FA Cup. And sacked Jose Mourinho after 2.5 years despite him winning 3 trophies in his first season. And he got second in his first season. And we're not even known as a sacking football club. But like I've said to you so many times before, we haven't been the same team since Ferguson retired. And no one's going to achieve what Ferguson did. And no one's going to last as long as Sir Alex Ferguson did. Ferguson endured 27 years at the club and won a total of 30-odd major honours, was it? But he didn't win out in his first 4 years. So he didn't settle in straight away, did he? You know the news as well on Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba is going to be out for another 2 weeks with this thigh injury. He's a big miss, to be honest with you, because Paul Pogba's performances have actually been good in recent months. He had an ankle injury earlier on this season. He was out for the vast majority of last season with an ankle injury. He has had a long running transfer saga. You know, he could still leave Man United in the summer. There's still a chance he'll stay past the summer. There's 3 clubs that are in for him, and that's Real Madrid, Juventus and PSG. You know, Mino Raiola recently admitted that he's working quietly on Paul Pogba's transfer to avoid offence. He refused to comment on Paul Pogba's future. Because obviously Mino Raiola doesn't have a good relationship with the club. And he made an announcement back in December regarding Pogba, and obviously Solskjaer was unhappy with Mino Raiola's announcement because it was just before the game against RB Leipzig in the Champions League. But we've actually held talks over Paul Pogba's future, and Solskjaer said the other week Paul Pogba's happy and he suggested that he could sign a new contract. It said last month that Paul Pogba was considering making a U-turn at the club, and he contradicted his agent Mino Raiola for the second time. Don't forget earlier on this season we triggered that 1 year extension on his contract, so he's under contract with the club until June 2022. And like I've said to you, there's quite a few players now that don't even get in R11. You know, Daniel James doesn't get in R11. He's lost his place in the team. Williams doesn't get in R11. Tuanzebe doesn't get in R11. Phil Jones doesn't get in R11. Phil Jones has been given a second chance though. He's been out of injury for the past 12 months. You know, Juan Mata, he's another player that doesn't get in R11, and I think there's a chance he'll leave the club in the summer. So anyway guys, that's everything to update with today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon. And there'll be another video coming up tonight.